Imagine your land has been brutally occupied for over 70 years. Your home's been destroyed so that illegal settlers can move in, and your water is rationed, your freedom of movement is controlled by illegal checkpoints, and your children are arrested, blindfolded and detained in the middle of the night as a means to terrorise you into submission. Your land has been annexed by an apartheid wall based solely on religious demograph. This is everyday life for a Palestinian at the hands of Israel. Due to the subjugation of the Palestinian people, Israel are in breach of every single of the 10 human rights listed in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. They are in breach of the Geneva Convention, the UN Charter on Child's Rights, and international humanitarian law. Normalising relations with Israel is normalising the bloody occupation of Palestine. Scotland are due to play Israel this October, and once again Israel are using an international sporting event to whitewash their image, as they are rightfully condemned for their violations against the Palestinian people. The Palestinian call highlights the Israeli Football Association's deep complicity in Israel's violations of international law and Palestinian human rights, because it includes 6 Israeli football teams based in illegal Israeli settlements. These settlements are regarded as war crimes in international law. Scotland should not play Israel until they comply with international law. Scotland, please don't play Israel and endorse the illegal occupation. Instead, show your support for the Palestinian people and call on the Scottish Football Association to stand up against apartheid and stand with equality and justice. For the rest of you, end the siege of Gaza, stop arming Israel, and as always, free Palestine.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace be on you. I represent the Scottish Human Rights Forum. This Thursday, 8th of October at 6 p.m, the Israeli national football team is going to play the Scottish national football team. Every Scots with any humanity needs to be at the protest against the Israeli racist apartheid regime outside Hampden Park, main gates, starting at 6 p.m, to show our support for the oppressed Palestinians and to send a strong signal that we should not be participating with an apartheid Israeli state that is stealing Palestinian land and colonizing the Palestinian land and people. So make sure to be there this Thursday, 8th of October at 6 p.m. to show your support for justice and for the basic human rights of the oppressed Palestinian nation. See you there. Assalamu alaikum.
Hi, I'm Kimberly and I'll be attending the Don't Play Ball with Israeli Apartheid protest on the 8th of October at Hampden Park. The reasons that I'll be there are many, but they include Israel's treatment of pregnant women, being forced to give birth at checkpoints and babies dying at their checkpoints in the process. I'll also be there because Palestinian school children are having stones thrown at them by settlers, having soldiers pointing guns at them on their way to school, and tear gas fired into their classrooms. And I'll be there because 4 wee boys from the same family were playing football on a beach in 2014, and one of the world's strongest military powers decided to cut their lives short. It was no accident, and there's been no justice for that or any of the other crimes committed against the Palestinian people. Until Israel starts behaving like a normal state, it shouldn't be treated as one. So I hope you'll join us and condemn their participation in this event.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome. If you live anywhere near Glasgow, this is a message for you. On Thursday, 8th of October, Israel is going to play football with Scottish national team. And we need every individual near Glasgow to arrive at Hampden Park at 6 p.m. on Thursday, 8th of October, to show our support for the Palestinians and to send a strong signal that we should not be participating with an apartheid Israel state that is appropriating and colonizing the Palestinian people. So be there on Thursday, 8th of October at 6 p.m. Thank you.
Hi, dear friends, Yola here. I want to invite all of you at the 8th of this month outside the Hampden Stadium. We are going to protest the presence of apartheid Israel in Scotland. I'm going to be there as well because, one, Scottish Jews against Zionism are not going anywhere. They are there and they are here to stay in Scotland because there's not only one Jewish community in Scotland. Number two, because Israel continued to violate basic human rights of Palestinian people, and I understand that no one is free until we are all free. And number three, because I'm not going to be threatened by the people who try to silence me, and especially by the people who are involved in anti-Semitic scandals themselves. So I'm also going to be there. Everyone at the 8th of this month outside of the Hampden Stadium.
Why am I going to Hampden on the 8th of October to protest at the Scotland versus Israel match, hopefully with many others? Because it is what we can do as international solidarity activists and as anti-apartheid activists. BDS aims to isolate and exclude Israel from participation in all sorts of spheres: business and trade, academic cooperation, cultural performances, and as at Hampden on Thursday, sports competition. This does have an impact. It's a non-violent weapon and nobody is killed or injured, unlike the endless violence that Israel inflicts upon Palestinians in so many ways, and that includes attacks on Palestinian footballers and football facilities. Israel claims that the motivation for BDS is anti-Semitism, but in fact it is quite the opposite. It is concern for human rights and justice. So be there on the 8th. Okay, thanks.
This Thursday, Israel is coming down to play Scotland at Hampden Park. As part of the sports boycott, we're asking Scotland not to play with Israeli apartheid. Racism has no place in football. Kick Israeli racism out of FIFA. Kick Israeli racism out of football until Israel starts to abide by international law.
I will be at Hampden on Thursday to take a stand against Israeli apartheid. The Israeli government dehumanises Palestinians and violates their human rights on a daily basis in all areas of life, including football. That is why we are saying the Israeli football team are not welcome here in Scotland.
Hi, my name's Steve and I'm here to say why I'll be outside Hampden on the 8th of October to protest the visit of the Israeli national football team. This is a UEFA competition, so why there's a Middle Eastern country in this competition? Well, they say politics and sport shouldn't mix, but that's exactly what's happening. UEFA, who make great publicity of their anti-racist credentials with slogans such as kick out racism and red card racism, they're inviting this state of Israel, which conducts racist policies, apartheid policies against the Palestinians, to play in our land. So come along and join the protest on the 8th of October. Give your support to the Palestinians who suffer from oppression, including sports people and of course Palestinian football players too. Thank you.
I'll be going to Hampden Park next Thursday, the 8th of October, to protest outside the football match between Israel and Scotland. I'm going because Israel's an apartheid state and commits daily crimes against the Palestinian population that's resided there for millennia in that land. This is a project of genocide, of ethnic cleansing, which everyone in the world should be waking up to. To do nothing is to be complicit in these crimes. To do something, however small, is to help to hasten the end of apartheid in Israel-Palestine and to end apartheid over the world and be part of a movement for social justice. I invite you to join the protest next Thursday. Raise your voices in support. Join the movement for boycott of cultural and sporting events and support BDS.
Hello everyone, my name is Khaled Khalil. I am attending the demonstration at Hampden Park on the 8th of October to express my rejection and condemnation to allowing the Israeli national team the opportunity to play European football here in Scotland. If the apartheid occupier state of Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East, why are they allowed to play here in Europe? How can the FIFA allow the ethnic cleansers of the Palestinian people who killed and maimed Palestinian footballers by sniping their kneecaps and denied them freedom of movement to national and international tournaments? How can the FIFA allow them to play here in Europe? This is such an outrageous hypocrisy and double standards. So join us the 8th of October, Hampden Park, to call for the commercial, academic and athletic boycott of the occupiers of Palestine. See you there.
Mohaba. My name is Alan Ferry, and I will be going to demonstrate against the Scotland-Israeli football match in Hampden on October the 8th. I'm doing that because I don't think Scotland should be playing Israel at football because of the Israeli apartheid regime and oppression of the Palestinian people in their own homeland. I think it's shameful that Scotland is playing football against this regime, and I think that we should be doing the utmost that's in our power to demonstrate against the game and to show support for Palestinian people wherever they may be. The damage that's being done physically, economically, socially and mentally to Palestinian people by the Israeli government means that we should not have anything to do with Israel, and we should be demonstrating against Israel at every opportunity.
I'll be at Hampden on 8th of October because Israel is a racist state. In recent months, there have been numerous sports events where players have taken the knee in support of Black Lives Matter. I'm sure this is not just tokenism. However, if teams continue to play ball with Israel, then they are being hypocritical. Israel is a state with racist laws. In the Holy Land, Israel controls the whole area. However, not everyone gets to vote. In some parts, you can only vote if you are Jewish. Millions of Muslims and Christians do not have the basic human right to elect the government that controls the state in which they live. In South Africa, this was called apartheid. Through sporting boycotts, it was brought to an end. Israel is also an apartheid state. International sports teams must refuse to play countries with apartheid regimes. There is no neutral. If they play, they are condoning apartheid.
My name's Mick Napier and I'm going to be in Hampden on Thursday, October 8th. It's a week today because of Israel's war against Palestinian football players. Mohammed Khalid Obeid was a promising young player, aspired to play in the international team, but when he joined a demonstration on the Gaza border periphery to assert his human rights, an Israeli sniper shot both his knees, shattered both his knees, and of course ended all his hopes. Many thousands of Palestinians have been maimed by snipers, and hundreds of young men will no longer dream of playing football to a high level. Israel's war against Palestinian footballers, the killing of hundreds and the maiming of many thousands, demands that decent people turn up to join the protest in Hampden on Thursday, October 8th at 6 p.m. I hope you'll join us.
فدائي 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 يا أرضي يا أرض الجدود فدائي 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 يا شعبي يا شعب الخلود ها هو منتخب فلسطين يكسر كل القيود ويتحدى صعوبة الموجود.
This short film is the testimony of Palestinian football players and officials who face constant harassment and worse from the Israeli occupation forces. The harassment and attacks are part of Israel's efforts to make every part of Palestinian society suffer to such a degree that they'll leave to make way for an expanded Israel.
والعديد من منشآتنا تدمرت بالإضافة إلى تقييد حركتنا داخل الأراضي الفلسطينية وخارجها.
أنا خالد قواسمي لاعب منتخب فلسطين. الحركة الرياضية في فلسطين يعني قدمت كثير من الشهداء والأسرى، وقدمت كمان يعني في كثير لاعبين اعتزلوا الرياضة أو يعني بطلوا يلعبوا رياضة بسبب الإصابات اللي يعني كانت تجيهم يعني تصير معهم بالمواجهات والنضال يعني من أجل فلسطين. فهذا كان عائق كبير يعني على اللاعبين، يعني هذا الإشي سبب إنه يقل عدد اللاعبين والتطور والأمور هاي.
أنا اسمي لين كراكرا، لاعبة المنتخب الفلسطيني مع مؤسسة شباب البيرة. إحنا اللاعبين بشكل عام بنواجه صعوبات، ومن هاي الصعوبات إنه الاحتلال بحد تنقلنا من بلدة إلى أخرى، كما إنه إحنا بنواجه صعوبات في المشاركة في بطولات خارجية. عندنا نقص في عدد لاعبين المنتخب بسبب عدم مشاركة لاعبين الموجودين في غزة مع المنتخب الفلسطيني. نواجه صعوبة في المشاركة في البطولات الخارجية بسبب سياسات الاحتلال للسفر للمنتخب الفلسطيني بشكل خاص. يعني
أنا ليلى الشيخ، بلعب مع لاعبة في المنتخب الفلسطيني. احنا بنعاني بكثير مشاكل بسبب الاحتلال، مثلا نتأخر على التدريب بسبب الحواجز، وفي بيكون عندنا كثير نقص في المعدات الرياضية، وكمان بصير عندنا صعوبة في انه نبني ملاعب بسبب الاحتلال.
وليد علاء وليد صالح، لاعب منتخب فلسطين. بنعاني من مشاكل من قبل الاحتلال، حيث انه المنتخبات ما عمرها كانت كامله، خصوصا لاعبين غزه اغلبهم ممنوعين من السفر والمشاركات الخارجيه. واكبر مثال اخر دور الناشئين، حيث حرم 6 لاعبين من المشاركه مع منتخبهم.
They sent a team from here to Santiago in Chile to play in the same stadium where thousands of young men had been tortured and many had been killed, where one of the main musicians had his hands broken and then was killed. And 7 miles away from here in East Kilbride, workers were refusing to repair aircraft engines for the murderous government in Chile. These people were sending footballers to play a friendly game. And today another murderous government sends a football team here. Israel is murdering Palestinians. The United Nations Human Rights Commission reported Israel is killing children, knowing they are children, killing disabled Palestinians, medical workers, journalists.